Okay.
Morning.
Morning, it's Simon and Angela here from Adelaide Walker. Hope you're all well this morning, and it's been both sunny and wet in Yorkshire, so it's a bit nicer where you are. What?
Go on.
Alright, so I'm going to just burble for a few moments whilst people kind of find us. Whilst I do that, I'm getting strange faces. Does that mean, oh no, I'm not, oh no, right.
Speed up.
If anybody was trying to order our advent calendar last night at about 8 o'clock, then we got it a bit wrong, despite spending about 4 hours testing it during the week. It all went wrong at the last minute, and you weren't able to get the free postage option. That was fixed by 8:57, following which I needed a couple of large glasses of red wine, and everything should be fine. If you check out either as a guest or as a customer this morning, then all will be well. A few people have already done so. If you were online last night, then apologies for that. But now everything should be hunky-dory. Okay, so we're going to talk today about fibres, because we've done a few of these, and we've talked about equipment, and we've talked about kits, and we've talked about needle felting, and we haven't really talked about fibres, so that's what we're going to talk about this morning. Angela knows much more about this than I do, so I am going to do, she's laughing in the background as I say that, a brief kind of description of fibres and the kind of aspects of them, and then Angela is going to wing it, was the phrase used over breakfast this morning, so it's going to be fun. So there are three, I suppose, aspects of fibres which we will, I'm sure Angela will mention on and off during her little session. And the first of those is the length of the individual fibre, referred to as the staple length. Okay, and if we just have a quick glance at these down here, you'll see that fibres have different lengths. So this is Teeswater on the right, on the left, and you can see that that is a single fibre there. I can't pull it apart. It's a single fibre, and it's what, 6-7 inches long. Teeswater is a long staple, long fibre. Massam is the same, and what else is long? Wensleydale, yeah, Wensleydale. I knew there was another one in there. Lincoln Longwall, yeah. And then moving from left to right, Mulberry Silk is a very long staple. You can see it's pretty much the same as the Teeswater. Blueface Leicester is a little bit shorter. Jacob is a bit shorter again, and then we come down to Cotton, which is very short, and Bergschaft, which is very short. You can it's probably even a bit shorter than it looks there. It's a short kind of couple of inch staple there. So the second thing, and this we meant, so if you look at our website, it's got the length of the fibre in most, and certainly in all of the natural breeds, it's got the length of the fibre. The other thing is the thickness of the fibre, so how coarse is the actual individual fibre. You can't see that on this because they all look pretty much the same. Some fibres are finer than others. Merino is the finest wool fibre that we have, shortly followed by Blueface Leicester, and then kind of Jacob and all those kind of normal, in the middle breeds. Some of the hill breeds, Swaledale, Herdwick, are a little bit coarser. What difference does that make? It kind of affects how it feels. So a finer fibre will feel softer, even though it might not be, but just because it's finer, it feels softer. And that is measured in microns, which for the technical among you is a micron is 1/1000th of a millimetre, and a fine fibre is about 20 microns. The finest merino we've got is 21 microns. If you go up to the Herdwick, then we're talking about 35 microns, which isn't very much difference, but it's almost twice, it's almost half as coarse again, if that makes sense. The other thing, which is a bit less easy to feel, is how soft the fibre is, because, as I've just said, a finer fibre will tend to feel softer anyway. Shetland is somewhere in the middle of the coarseness, but is a soft fibre. So that's sometimes referred to as the feel of the fibre. And the handle, yeah. Did I say yes? I should have said handle, shouldn't I? Right, I'm going to hand over to Angela now, who's going to talk about what you do with them.
Okay, so what you do with them, lots of us will just pick up a fibre that we like the colour of, or feel of, and we'll make felt with it, we'll spin with it. But if you're thinking ahead, you should plan for your project. So what will you do with it at the end? And there it really does become like a normal fabric. So if you had a cotton muslin, you wouldn't use that for a rug. You might use it for a neck curtain, bit of merino felting. Equally, if you had hessian, you wouldn't want to wear that round your neck. So you need to think of your fibres in the same way, because that enables you to plan the right fibre for the right project. Okay, with me so far? So we've got a lot of different fibres, and they come in different shades and different colours. And of course, the question I'm often asked is, can you mix them? Yes, you can. So if you want to do experiments, you want to build yourself up a little portfolio of what something spins up like or felts up like, then do a small sample and keep it on its own. So you know roughly what that would do for you. But then you can start to combine them as well, and then it gets really interesting. So if you take something like the long wools, they're really nice, will give you a long, particularly worsted weight on your spinning. Also produce some lovely felts. I'm going to pick up some of these as well. So this one, you can see, is a little Wensleydale pot. I've done it quite dense so you can't see through this. So if you were felting with this and you do it dense, you can see it's quite tough, but you can do it really lightweight for something like a light shade. And it's beautiful when it's felted, because when you switch on your light bulb, you can see all the wave and the crimp and the length of the fibres. So it really is lovely to look at. And of course you can combine things like this as well. A combination in spinning I've got here, this one is one that I spindle spun in my early days of spinning, so please do forgive the fact that it's not perfect. But this, and I can't, obviously you haven't got a feelometer there, but this is a mixture of English wool, which is a mixed breed, with mohair. So I took the mohair and I've combed it, and then I've spun it together, and it feels beautiful. It's real squishy, it's lovely. And so again, you'd be planning for, do you want it to have a little more drape? Perhaps you want to put some silk into it, give you a bit of extra weight, a bit of extra drape. Do you want it to be bouncy and squidgy and trap that air in and make it lovely and warm? The bouncier and squidgier it is, the more it will pill, but also it'll be really quite warm for you. So here's one which I did, this is a mixed one, a breed again. This is Gotland mixed with merino. So it's primarily Gotland with just a bit of merino for colour. And again, that feels really nice. And this is where you would start to think, what do you want next to your skin as well? Is this for a hat that you want to do it? I mean, actually, I think this would make really nice mittens and hats and things like that, whether you're felting or whether you're spinning. This one is merino, and it's got a bit of Angelina and neps and things in it, but it's otherwise all merino. And that would be lovely to wear against your skin, again, felting or spinning. Some people don't like it as a beginner spin because merino is not the easiest if you're learning, but once you've got the hang of drafting and spinning, you can move on to any. And a lot of people, if they're felt making, we use merino because it's readily available in lots of colours. We've got something like 56 colours. But it's not the only thing you can use, people. You can use other stuff. So do have a go at other British breeds. So I've got one or two more here for you. It's a Cheviot. Again, this is not a wool that I would spin or felt with to put against my skin. For me, this is too firm. But makes beautiful pots, slippers, handbags, hats, all those kinds of items take a lot of way. You can do rugs with this, whether you've spun it and woven it, or whether you actually felt make with it. Another little one here. This is one of my favourites, and I know this is bonkers, but this is Black Welsh. It takes a little more effort than some, but one of the things I love about this, and I'll wait till Charlotte zooms out a little bit again, is you can squish it and it just comes straight back. And I do like that about it. So you can see that actually has a bit of natural bounce. That would also mean that if you wanted to felt with something like this, and you used it as a rug, even when it's felted, it's going to have that little bit of comfortable give in it. So we do need to be thinking about what it is that you want to use.
We should just say at this point, if anybody's got any questions, then bung them up as you go along, and
Oh yeah, please ask.
we'll just ask Angela or me as we go along. So don't be shy. More questions, the more fun it is.
I think what I'd like to get across from today is there are a lot of options out there for you. It doesn't matter what you're doing. Have a try of something new. Combine fibres. They will go together in different ways. But go outside your comfort zone. Do something a little different. So this one is Manx Lockton, and the decoration round here, that's soy fibre. And I just liked it rather than white, just that sort of yellow tone to it, which I think is really nice. And again, I'd worked with this as a felt maker for quite a long time, and then I came to spin it, and it spins up beautifully. I really like it. It creates such a lovely yarn, and it's a true mid-brown colour. Lots of the fibres are dark browns, but this is just a beautiful one. Really lovely. Another couple of samples here to show you of mixing things. So this is a black massum. Now I have felted a rug with this that's been at the side of my bed for years, and it still looks not as new but really pretty good. And this is spun up with sari silk fibres, which gives it a bit of texture and these little pops of colour, which I think is really lovely. And this one is real soft and squishy, Blueface Leicester. Now I think everything in Blueface Leicester is gorgeous if it's a wearable. I would not, for instance, use Blueface Leicester if I wanted to do something that is going to be hard wearing. So if I wanted to do a handbag, then I might be using something like Shetland or Jacob, Norwegian, Bergschaft. Bergschaft is beautiful wool for wet or needle felting. Frankly, I don't really like it for spinning. It's got, as you might notice on here, I'll just go back to this, a lot of crimp. You can see the fibres are bouncing and moving around all over the place. And when you try to spin with that, I think it's best described, as someone said to me, as a rustic yarn. It certainly isn't smooth and lovely. You might want to add it in for interest and texture, but I wouldn't spin with that one. That one's not for me. So you can see you can do a lot with different fibres, different yarns. One of the things, if you've not worked with different ones before, is we've got a couple of things that might help you. So we do offer a British wool breeds mix pack. So there's 10 different breeds in there, 50 grams of each one, which is enough to do samples and things. And if you're spinning fine, you'll perhaps get a shawl out of it. If you're making felt, it's more than enough to do yourself a pot. You've got books like this one, and Simon wants to show this one.
Oh yeah, well this is the current version of this book, which is the British Wool Marketing Board Sheep and Wool Handbook. And when I was talking about at the start about the staple length in the handle and the micron range, then this is kind of a reference book for each of those, and it's got nice pretty pictures as well. This, as I said, is one by the British Wool Marketing Board, so it does cover British breeds, obviously, and some of the kind of imported breeds, Texel or whatever, that you get in this country. It doesn't cover world sheep. The other one we've got there is the Fleece and Fibre Handbook, which, as you can see, because they've misspelt fibre on the front, I hope I haven't offended any transatlantic people watching, it is an American publication. It does cover a broader range of sheep breeds. Why did yeah, this one was my mum's from about 1970, I should think. Oh, there we go, 1979, it says in the front. So it has been around a while. This is, you can see the pictures are nicer than the new one, but it's got the same thing. So it speaks with authority, that one. All right.
Yep, so I'm going to go over and just talk a little bit about coarse breeds. Because lots of us go for the soft and the beautiful and the squishy, and doesn't it feel fantastic? And we all know that feeling. But there is a place for the others. So this beautiful colour here, that's the Swaledale. And you can see it's not a flat shade. It's got lots of different shades in it. Dyes up beautifully, really lovely. Now I personally like this when I'm doing things like making felted book covers, but I would also use it for yarns that are strong enough to make bags, to do weavings with, floor weavings and things. It's perfect. It's a lovely wool. I think it's underrated. A little bit more effort when you are felt making with it, but totally worth it. Does have guard hairs, so you can see one there, standing out there. Be prepared for some of those to come off. If you're a needle felter, you'll like these, make really good whiskers and things on animals. Another coarse one, which we all love, I think, quite often because the lambs and the sheep are so pretty, is the Herdwick. So amazing really that you get a black lamb, which then fades to grey, and it has that beautiful very gentle looking white face. Again, it's not one that a lot of people use, but I would urge you, if you are making something that needs to be harder wearing, to give it a go. Again, it dyes up really, really lovely. You do get the guard hairs. You can use them, put them out for the birdies, put them in your compost, use them in your needle felting. But it is, again, it's taking a bit more effort when you're wet felting and a little bit more soap, but actually when it does go, it locks into the most beautiful solid felt. So I do like to have a play with these. So I'm quite an advocate for British fibres, because I would use all of them, both in my spinning and in my felt making. Now, has anybody got any questions about particular things?
They've asked, do you deal with soap?
We do. When you deal with soap, we do sell soap.
Just put soy, not soap.
Yeah, we do have soy, and we do sell the soy fibres, cotton fibres, silk, bamboo, rami, mint. So we've got a lot of different fibres.
Soe actually is what we're saying.
Soe, right? That was okay.
Quite hard to read that on that small screen.
I have used Soe in the past. It's quite a short one. I personally preferred it to spin up rather than to make felt with. It's not an easy one to get hold of because it is one of the most vulnerable breeds in Britain, and the fleece is rude. So when it's ready, it starts to come away from the animal, and you would take it off clump by clump rather than with shears. So obviously if you don't time it right, it will take all those clumps off itself and leave them scattered around the field. And they're a very, very small sheep, so you don't get much fleece from it either. So there's not many of them, and they don't produce a huge amount of fleece. I have had it in the past, and I have tried again this year. So from time to time, but not as a general rule, because I can't buy it commercially. I would have to buy it as a fleece and prep it myself. If anyone does want to have a go at getting their own fleece and doing it, then you can try Find Fleeces on Facebook, FYNE, which is a great way to meet a lot of independent farmers who are trying to sell their product out to us craftspeople. So that's a good route to try and find them at the moment. Normally I do a lot of my shopping at the shows where I can actually see it and feel it and decide if the colour etc. is for me.
we should say about, you know, what's nice for needle felting and what's not good for needle felting? Because I think we've said
Right,
that.
so Simon talked earlier about how fine and things were and how crimpy and stuff. So that makes a difference. When you're wet felting, anything that is fine felts really easy. So things like merino, blueface Leicester require very little soap and effort and turn out beautiful items. The coarser the breed, so Jacob needs a bit more soap, things like Herdwick need a bit more soap, so they take longer to wet felt. But then, if you're looking at needle felting, it completely flips over. So the coarser items, ones like this, the Bergschaft, which we have in a lot of colours, but a lot of the native breeds of British wool, needle felt up really quickly, and the finer wools, like merino and blueface Leicester, will be really slow to needle felt. And you'll find that because they're finer, the needle leaves a much larger hole in it. So actually, some of the other breeds are a better option for you. It's both quicker and gives you a better result at the end.
Someone's asked, do you run felting workshops?
I have done in the past, not currently doing at the moment. Don't really think I'll get any off the ground this year, but I may well be doing again in the spring. Let's all see what happens with COVID.
Which dyes are best?
If you're dyeing animal fibres, which are protein based, so that would be this, things like milk protein, feathers and things, you need an acid dye which has to be fixed with heat. So the ones that we sell and that Charlotte and I use when we're dyeing up are these. You can see all the little colour samples I've got here. So it's 25 grams in there, and this will dye 500 grams of dry fibre to this kind of saturated shade. So obviously if you only want a pale shade, it will dye a lot more wool for you. I use white vinegar as a fixative, I've always got it at home, or you could use citric acid. But it does mean that you need to put it in the oven or the microwave or steam it or use your slow cooker, but it does need the heat to set it. If you're looking at fibres like your cotton and your rami or your cotton muslin, then you actually need fibre reactive dyes for those plant materials. And if you're dyeing silk, it doesn't matter, it's happy to go with whatever you're using. So it's great, so you can put it in with your plant fibres or you can put it in with your wool and it will happily take up the dye. Not forgetting, of course, there's lots of natural dyes and things in your store cupboard like turmeric and coffee and things that will also dye it. So you don't just have to ask us questions about the fibres and things that we've been talking about this morning. If there's anything else that you want to ask us about that we sell, might be able to have an answer for you for, that's fine. Just ask away. Whilst you think about if you want a question, we're just going to walk over to the other side and show you the Bergschaft, because you've seen a lot of the merino behind me and the other natural colours. And round here is the Bergschaft wool, which is good for wet or needle felting in natural or dyed shades. And down these centre tables here you can see the range of other fibres that we sell. So we've got the silks at this end, including the lovely sari silk fibres. We've even got things like trilobal, which is great if you want to blend it. If you're making socks, you can blend it in to give because it's a nylon essentially, it gives you that bit of extra strength in them. Lots of plant fibres, so we've got linen and hemp and things. And the other one which is really good when you mix in is the bamboo fibre. Gives it a lovely lustre, but also if you put that in for socks, it has antibacterial properties, so it will help to stop smells, it helps to, and if you're using wool, it wicks moisture away and things like that as well. So I hope that's been useful, folks. I'll come back to you.
You'll come back to me. There we go.
So if there's nothing else, we'd like to thank you for dropping in.
Yeah, thanks everybody, because we've had actually quite a lot more on this than the previous Instagram lives. I don't know whether that's a technology thing or what.
And if
Well,
there
thanks
are,
for joining us.
yeah, if there's other subjects you'd like us to cover on different occasions, just drop us an email, send us a message on Facebook or wherever, and we'll try and set it up for you.
All right.
Thanks a lot.
Okay, see you
Bye.
soon. Bye.